Create, awakening the artist inside you. Hello everyone, welcome to episode 28 of Create. Create is the show that talks about you as an artist or as a person who would like to be an artist or use the arts of all sorts to find happiness, balance, calmness and wellness. So welcome, we are in the new year and I hope that everyone is well, but I do know that a lot of you guys are actually losing sight of your happiness. You're feeling super stressed. You feel that you are on the edge. You're worried about the future. Maybe you're feeling a little bit hopeless. So if it's the case, it could be that you are struggling with resilience. What is resilience? It's the ability to cope with stress when we have difficult times. So the good news is you are not alone, because we are in the midst of a global pandemic. There is lots of uncertainty and a lot of us are wondering which path they should take, which direction they should get to, so that they can find a little bit of peace and connection in the face of what is actually going on outside, which is not an easy thing to deal with, for months and months. And this is not just about the pandemic. We could have our own problems that have been enhanced by the pandemic and that are very painful to deal with. We could have a loss, somebody that died in our family. We might have divorce, addiction, illness. We might have a business failure or we lost our job. We might have a wayward child. We might find out that we cannot thrive in our own self-employed business. So the problems that we can find that we can be worried about could be many, but also because we have the added problems of the pandemic, we really need to develop this very important thing which we call resilience. And resilience is really this ability to cope with adversities, to embrace all the struggles that come towards us and seeing them as opportunities to grow, so that we can kind of plug along every day, even after we are literally exhausted. Because this is so needed. We need to just keep going. Of course, this doesn't mean to work ourselves up to death. Okay, that's a different thing. The good news is nobody is born with resiliency. We then have all the chance to learn how to cope with everything that happens from the moment we are born to the moment we die. So we can all learn how to fine-tune our way of thinking, our behaviors, our actions, so we can develop true resilience. And of course, I'm not saying that we have to do this all alone. We have books, we have courses, we have friends, mentors, family. We even have hypnosis, and that can help us to achieve the impossible, to achieve complete self-confidence, that we can find a measure of peace even when there are great challenges. So let's go and have a look at 10 tips that you can find useful, you can apply in your life, whether you can apply to your journey towards balance and connection as a business person, as an artist, as a busy mom, as a widower. It doesn't matter. There are loads of applications for all these eternal principles. And so we're going to start with number 1. So the first principle I want to talk about today is to create a new dream. So that's probably something that is going to throw you back. Can you say, Franz, all my dreams have been shattered? And I'm like, no, wait. Let me just explain before you tune out. So you do know that humans are very resistant to change. It's something we are wired with, We have this protection mechanism. We want to keep everything as it was. We don't want to change it, even if it's not going well, because our mind likes what is familiar, and that's about how we are wired. We don't want to change that. And so it is possible that when we lost something, we lost the job, we lost a loved one, we had a divorce, we lost our income, whatever. If we keep looking back in the past at what we could have had, we're just not able to move on. So that's the point of creating this new dream, is to move on and to get a fresh start, even if it's completely different from the dream that we had in the beginning. Because, of course, we cannot control what happens outside, but we can control what happens inside our mind. And of course, it depends on the goals we have. Let's make them possible. And as I said in the previous episode, smart goals, right? And this means that it's absolutely okay to adapt our expectations to what is possible to do now in this year, in these first 3 months ahead of us. So we can shift our mindset from victim mode to empower mode. So we make decisions. Now, last week somebody posted on Facebook a very fun meme that has been going the rounds for a week. And the meme goes, first trip booked for 2021. Hopefully off to Iceland in February. If that goes well, probably looking at Asda in March and Tesco in April. Now, if you're not from the UK, you think, what is she saying? I'm saying Iceland, Asda and Tesco are 3 big grocery stores chains. So aside from the humor of saying, all I can go to is Asda, it's not very good, is it? It is actually interesting to observe that it is our attitude that will make our life easier to bear. And a long while ago, Victor Hugo said there is nothing like a dream to create the future. Isn't that amazing? Now think about it. A dream is necessary before you can create the future. So let's make this dream a possible dream with a smart goal, and let's make sure that we have a new dream that is configured to work with the frame that we have now, which is the pandemic. And let's go to number 2. We want to really ask ourselves what we can control. What is it that we can control? So instead of focusing our attention on what we cannot fix, we cannot change, we cannot control, we can ask ourselves what is that we can do better, that we can do differently. Because, as you know, even the tiniest thing that we can do, it can be a victory. If you are in a wheelchair and you manage to do some, basketball in a wheelchair, it's a huge thing that maybe a person that walks normally doesn't even think about it. It's like they just take it for granted, but for them it's a big thing. And if you're a toddler and you manage to do 20 steps in a row without falling on the floor, it's a big victory, right? So always look at perspective. Sometimes the tiniest thing that we're able to do can give us a measure of happiness and calmness, so we feel better about everything that is going on and about ourselves. And these are the small things. So it's a good time now to assess what changes we can implement to feel more calm, more empowered. And these are everyday little things, not really big ones. As for point number 3, I thought it would be worth mentioning how important it is to learn from our mistakes. Why? Because if we use the same mentality that has caused some problems, then we cannot fix the problems that we have. And let us be honest, not all the issues that we have today are caused by the global politics or by the pandemic. Yes, there are lots of problems, but the crisis that there is in the healthcare has highlighted, has expanded, has put the spotlight on existing issues. And these issues need addressing. So, what kind of mindset do we need so that we can benefit when we do our planning for the year, for the next month? What kind of mindsets can we use? Learning from our mistakes, tweaking things a little bit so we can do something that works better. Instead of repeating the same mistakes, using the same mentality, so we do not live in the past. So remember, in NLP we say there is no failure, only feedback. And it makes sense, it's all about learning. The 4th point is to learn how to really relax, unwind, nourish ourselves. It is important because when we are lowering our stress, we are investing in our well-being. So we can do things like breathing exercises, Tai Chi, yoga, listen to music. All these things, you don't have to do them all together, but they can have a really powerful calming effect on our nervous system, on our mind, and they can move us closer to a place of stability. And this is important. And if you were an artist, how difficult would it be for you, or how easy it would be if you're too stressed. If you're too stressed, you can't really create. So start with a little bit of breathing, a little bit of music, calm down, and focus on something specific. You can do this for yourself. If relaxing for you is impossible, it's foreign, and you're always on the edge because anxiety is literally eating you up, then this is a very good time to reach for a very good hypnotherapist to find out what is keeping you in this alert of fight or flight, state of alert. Because this is very, very bad for your immune system. And because when you're very stressed, your cortisol level goes high and higher and higher, and your immune system is like a balance thing, goes down. So if you want your immune system to be very strong, so you don't have many colds and infections, then you really want to learn how to relax. And it is possible even during the war, during a pandemic, during whatever is going on, to find a few minutes to stop, to relax, to connect to yourself again. Sometimes it is very difficult to find a good night of sleep because a lot of us have lost their jobs, they do not know how to pay the bills, and so it's very, very hard to think about the future. And in the night, our mind is still processing all these negative things that have been going on, especially the thoughts that have been going around in our mind, and we kind of ruminate these thoughts over and over, and it's important to switch them off. If you find it difficult, find a hypnotic recording, put it on your mobile phone, or if you have video cassettes, whatever you have, just press it, listen to that, and by listening to soothing words, soothing music, you are able to turn off the chit-chat that keeps going on, that keeps you awake, and then you can finally go to sleep. And if you wake up again, turn it on again. Because see, your brain cannot follow two conversations at the same time. It just really can't. So if you listen very carefully to whatever the hypnosis recording is saying, you cannot think of all the problems. So make sure you listen to a positive one, enjoyable, and I have a couple of them available on YouTube, and also there is one here about artists in the episode I gave you for Christmas. So treat yourself to a good recording, and it is a brilliant thing you deserve, because when you sleep well, you are full of energy the day after and you're more positive. Let's go to number 5. Number 5 is something that we talk about a lot, is to find some time about hobbies or interest. So in this time you will learn a new hobby, you will develop one that maybe you had many years ago, or you might share it, or you might teach it to somebody. Even if you have 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, it's still very important that you take time to unwind, to turn your attention away from all the negative news. Actually, it is prohibited to watch the news every day on mainstream TV because they're just all about the dead people, and there is a lot more going on than that. And it's not all bad. So just don't watch TV the whole day or horror movies. Try something more positive and inspirational. Meet new people. If you are taking time to do a new hobby, for example, painting, you will find so many groups of people that are enjoying the same hobby, and you can chat with them. Of course, in this moment, in most countries where you have a lockdown, you can only do that online. And that's fine. You just have to get what you can do, But if you are enjoying a hobby, chances are that you will not feel as stressed because you are focusing on something for a few minutes. You might take your mind off it, and that's very, very good. A little tip. A hobby doesn't have to be a very glamorous thing that you can post about on Facebook. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be time-consuming. It could be very simple. For example, playing a board game, or experimenting with food, creating a funny little recipe, or pottering around in the shed, where in January that's a time to prepare your sprouts for spring. So what can you do? These are all things that can be very rewarding, they are very simple, but don't really cost a lot of money. Have a look at what you can do today. have a look at what you can do today. I say this over and over, but number 6, you heard me saying it, watch your thoughts. Now you might notice that your mind is ruminating on all these past events, the elections, the mistakes you've done, that your husband and wife have done, that your children have done, everything that went wrong, your boss, and you just keep going over and over. Rinse and repeat. It's always the same. You're stuck in the past. But if you're stuck in the past, you cannot solve the problem that you have today. So try a circuit breaker. What it is when you hear that your mind is going on with the same negative cycle about the past, just break that. But it's a synapses to break. You just drop what you're doing, if possible, right? Unless you're driving somewhere, go for a quick walk. Go upstairs, go downstairs, play some music, change music. Do something to distract your mind, change your gear. And this helps you so that you don't keep playing this over and over. Every time the thoughts start, you just go, right, okay, now I'm gonna go out and do something else. Start a chat with somebody else, go into your house, talk to somebody else and say, well, how about lunch today? Just change the topic. And in the end, you will see that all this negative stuff stops coming so easily because the synapse is becoming very, very light until it is eaten up. It disappears because it is not used. How great! Number 7. Number 7 is about learning from the past. We all had challenges in the past, so you can ask yourself, what did I learn? And realize that the challenge is now gone. Either it has finished, or it has shifted to something else, or you have learned to adapt to the challenge. Because we, as humans, we share this incredible capacity to adapt and to thrive despite having very, very big challenges. If you are in doubt of this, you can find so many inspirational stories in literature, in books, on the internet as well, of how people found a new life purpose as a result of a tragedy, a loss, a big accident. So, if they are able to find purpose and to find happiness, we can do the same. So learn from the past, but look at the future. Number 8 is about shifting your perspective. Maybe your young children or teens think that life should be a very easy thing, everything should be brought to them easily. Maybe they are better than that. There is a combination, there's a middle ground, but wherever you are, remember that life is not really meant to be all smooth and easy all the way. You might have periods when everything seems to be perfect, but most times there will be so many bumps, there'll be holes on the road. And I think that the trick is to enjoy the journey. Yes, life won't get any easier, but we can become stronger. And Heraclitus was famously quoted for saying that the only thing that is constant is change. So embrace change. If you just cannot embrace change and you feel stuck, then as I said before, use hypnosis, use therapy to reframe the attitude, because you can't live forever in the same way you did as you were 5-year-old. And sometimes just a single session is just enough to remove all these blocks that you have brought to you. And it's very liberating. It's very liberating to take all these things off and stop carrying them. Number 9 is about self-reliance. We have to learn about self-reliance. It's just about time. Because if you are prepared, you will not have so much fear, anxiety, and worry. And the best way to stop being on the edge all the time, is to take action towards becoming more self-reliant as you go. I'm talking about spiritually, physically, emotionally, etc. So as an artist, you can think of ways you can become self-reliant, and as a person who has a normal job or cannot find a job, there are ways you can become more self-reliant and therefore calm down and become more resilient. So if you have a job, just keep saving a bit towards rainy days. If you don't have a job, maybe you can learn a new skill. Even when you're 50, 60, 70, there are people who are now learning that are way older than we used to do. 40 years ago, people would stop going to school and that was it. But now you can learn all the way until you're very, very old, which is amazing. So that can make you self-reliant. If your finances are becoming tight, you can start to learn now about budgeting. You can grow your food. You can do bartering with your friends. You can share skills. You can cook from scratch. And you can use all your artistic skills as well to do something good and useful that makes you feel good, and maybe some of it you can sell. So there are things like sewing or house repairs, making baskets. These are things that can save you hundreds of pounds by the end of the year, and they can make you feel lighter about your future. There are literally thousands of free courses and cheap courses that are available online. There are many learning platforms. You can research from YouTube, which is all for free. You have Skillshare, you have Udemy, you have Craftsy. There are so many. I can't even think about all the names. There are just hundreds and hundreds of courses you can do. There's Open University that has Future Learn. Honestly, this never ends. Self-reliance starts with education, because education is power. And I'm not talking just about university or learning about literature, but learning practical skills. And a lot of people nowadays do not have any practical skills. They only know how to use computers and as a front-end user. So they're not a developer, they are a user. And you can do so much more with computers. You can learn coding, for example. And Scratch, for example, takes only a few minutes. You take about half an hour a day for 2 or 3 days. Even as a 50-year-old, I learned very quickly how to use it. And it's a very good coding language. So take advantage of all these courses, of all these opportunities to learn skills. Look at your neighbors and ask them. Send them an email. How did you learn to do this? Teach me. And they can go on Zoom with you. And then in the future, when we're able to get out of this lockdown, right, that we love so much, we're going to be able to spend some time with people and learn. And as you learn new skills, you enjoy yourself, you feel better. And this helps you in your journey towards emotional self-reliance and physical self-reliance. Okay, that's great. So let's go to the last point, which is number 10. And this is maybe not art-related at all, but is to be kind to other people, to stay close to them. You have family, you have friends, and also be kind and stay close to your inner self, your spiritual self, whatever you want to call it. We gotta accept that nobody has all the answers here. There are mistakes being made by a lot of people, and there will be more mistakes, and that's okay. And we also make mistakes, and when this happens, we just have to see that something unpleasant is happening, and we have to bounce back, try again, correct, improve, get the feedback, move on. There are other ways of doing things. We have to start talking to like-minded people to become more resilient. We need to start thinking outside of a box to build up the network that we want and to help one another more. Because when you are caring and when you are being united, you become stronger. How does that apply to art? Well, if you go through all this, you can apply to every single project you have, to everything you want to do, because you want to be centered, you want to be calm, you want to be focused, and it's very difficult if you're full of stress and worry. So, it's a chicken and egg situation. You cannot do art until you're relaxed. You're not relaxed until you do art. This is so true for a lot of people. But it's important to remember we all need to unwind and calm down and stop attacking one another on the internet, because we have opposite views on what's going on and what's going on. We all have different views, but we're all trying to get out of this problem somehow. And we need to keep going, because humanity needs to survive this and to become stronger and filled with love and light. So my thought is that as we all navigate this new year using all these 10 tips, we will all find that the burden will feel lighter, that our focus will be better, our direction will be more focused, it will be improved. And then one day we might even look back, we might even say that that was an amazing year. I learned so much. I go closer to somebody. In closing, I would love to quote from Abraham Lincoln. He said that the best way to predict the future is to create it. There are so many quotes about the future that are amazing, and it's really in our hands. We can do so much, especially our own future, our little island of happiness and calmness, or mindfulness. So I hope that you have enjoyed this episode and that you will be looking for ways to be more self-reliant, more resilient, more kind, and more attuned to yourself and connected to yourself and to the universe and to the source of love that is above all of us. You can call it universe, you can call it God, you can call it whatever you like, but we all need a strong connection now to know that things are going to get good in the end, to know, to have a hope. And I firmly believe that the future is as bright as your faith. So remember this and keep working really hard to find this calmness so that you can really listen to your inner voice, to your inner wisdom, and have a wonderful 2021. Thank you everyone for listening to this episode. If you found it useful, share it with your friends, click like and subscribe. And of course, if you would like to have a session, just let me know and we can talk about the issues that you have and how we can move forward using hypnotherapy or coaching or NLP or all three, and then move on to create the wonderful future that you deserve. Take care. Bye-bye. You have listened to Create, awakening the artist inside you, creating the life you want, with Franz Sydney.